Hi, I'm Anoli. I'm the creative content coordinator at Forge. Forge is the National Trans Anti-Violence Organization. We support trans survivors of trauma. This is part 3 of a 6-part video series, instructional videos on navigating pronouns. And this section, part 3, is about asking about pronouns. So how do you ask people their pronouns? And that's what we'll cover today. Why do we ask people their pronouns? Because as we said in the last video, it's the response to the question, how do I know what pronoun to use for someone? Asking is just the only way to know. Just like we don't know what someone's name is if we don't introduce ourselves and ask someone their name, we also don't know what their pronoun is without having an exchange, a conversation about it. So how do we ask? One way is to ask in an easy flowing conversation, just like we would with names. But how? People, sometimes it can be really hard to imagine this if we're not kind of familiar with this type of conversation. So we're gonna break it down together. So if you're meeting someone for the first time, like a client or a new coworker, introducing yourself with your pronoun and asking about theirs is a great way to get off on the right foot. So for example, hello, I'm Anoli. I use the pronouns they, them. What pronouns do you use? The reason we do it this way is because it's an exchange. We're asking someone to be vulnerable with us, and so we are offering some of our own vulnerability to them. Also, we can't assume that they will know what pronouns to use for us unless we share our pronouns with them. Again, just like with names. So what are the benefits to asking in conversation this way? Why would we kind of try to take up this practice? So yeah, let's go through it together. So the most obvious benefit is that you get someone's pronouns right in the future. Um, and if the person you're engaging with is trans or just has a pronoun that others tend not to assume is their pronoun, that others tend to get wrong, they may feel especially seen and recognized in a way that they don't with other folks that they tend to kind of encounter in their life. Um, and if the person you're talking to is less familiar with trans issues and gender issues and pronouns, asking them about their pronoun is a great way to raise awareness. And I think the biggest reason is that we know kind of what all of these reasons encapsulate is that we know that as providers and professionals, we want to show all of our clients the respect that they deserve. And so using the correct pronoun for them is essential in treating them with respect. In spite of these benefits, asking about pronouns has not yet become totally normalized in the field, right? In the world in general, or kind of in the field of providing services to folks. And so what keeps us? What keeps people from asking in this way? And so some of the things that we hear is that people aren't used to it because it's not a habit, and it just feels kind of awkward to them. Breaking a habit is practice, and we have a separate video about practice, but we're going to dig in a little bit more to this question of awkwardness now. So asking someone about their pronoun can feel awkward. So this is our little awkward face saying, hey, what's your pronoun? This person feels a little bit uncomfortable. Usually when we dig into this question of why it's awkward, what's awkward about this exchange, it's because folks are worried about hearing hostility or confusion from the person they're asking. So our little confusion bubble says, what do you mean? What's a pronoun? And our hostility bubble says, can't you tell I'm a woman? So I think the concern about hearing this back from the people you're asking is a valid concern. These are responses that we've heard in real life. So how do we navigate that? So if you anticipate some of these questions from others, we can be prepared with how to respond to them. When people do question you, like about what's a pronoun or hey, why are you asking me? If you've thought through these questions in advance, you can reply with a quick and clear answer, which we refer to here as a script. Let's explore what one script could look like. So it should include what a pronoun is and why you're asking. So if a person asks what are pronouns, for example, here is one script that I've used with clients that I found to be effective. Um, Pronouns are words used to describe people like he, she, and they. I ask everyone their pronouns because some people, particularly trans people, don't always have the pronouns we assume. And it's really important to me to be inclusive and respectful of the pronouns that everyone uses. This response both answers a person's question of what are pronouns and provides a little bit of education and affirms our commitment, to supporting our trans clients and all of our clients. So here's an important note about awkwardness. So as providers and professionals, a big part of our job is to treat all of our clients and the people we work with care and respect, right? That's part of what healing is about and supporting people. We do not want to add pain or hardship to their experiences. By normalizing asking pronouns, we are making the world safer for trans people and acknowledging that they are whole people. And I think that is worth feeling a little bit weird or awkward. And so that's why our embarrassed little friend says awkwardness is a productive and important part of supporting marginalized clients. And so I think if we kind of approach our work from this perspective, it can be really transformative in the same way that we say, like, okay, allowing people space to talk about their trauma may be awkward for them, but it is like meaningful, transformative work that I am invested in, like I think kind of approaching this work around trans inclusion and gender and pronouns in the same way can kind of shift our understanding of our role. So that's asking conversationally. So another place we can ask pronouns as an organization is on intake forms. So this is an important step that creates a safe environment for trans clients. However, it's also important to make sure that everyone who sees a client has a way to see the pronouns that they put on the intake form and feels trained and comfortable using them. Like, so maybe they could view this video series. So I just want to note that this step of asking an intake form is interconnected with other important steps, like training and full staff coordination and communication, right? Because sometimes trans folks will feel like, hey, I put my pronoun on my intake form and then everyone ignored it. So we want to make sure that we're like really carrying that through to all their interactions with the organization. So assuming that that's all in place, here's an example intake form from the University of British Columbia. So both gender and gender pronouns are blanks. You could also do checkboxes for pronouns, maybe like he, him, she, her, and they, them, as long as you also have a spot for another pronoun because people use other pronouns other than those three. So that's just a really simple way to include it. And then, an important note on asking pronouns with clients of all ages. I think kind of in the field of working with youth, it's really come to light that it can be complicated when it comes to pronouns. So trans and non-binary young people, like all LGBTQ people, may be out in some spaces but not in others. And so we don't want to inadvertently out them or endanger them by, say, calling home and using a pronoun that parents are not familiar with. So I really like this resource and a way to kind of respond to that concern. So this is a form I saw online. It was credited to the GLSEN Teacher of the Year, Mix Ace Schwartz. It asks pronouns and then asks separately if they can be used in front of the class, yes or no, with the young person's guardians, yes or no, and in front of their teacher, yes or no. Well, their other teachers. While this addresses concerns specific to young people, many of them are valid for adults as well. Because coming out doesn't happen all at once across the board at a particular stage in the life course. So a doctor's office could ask someone of any age, should I use this pronoun with your family, with your other providers? Are there providers I shouldn't use it with, etc.? So I really appreciate this level of nuance, and I think it's the direction we all need to be headed in this field. However, all people who work with a particular client, student, or person need to be familiar with the form and the person's answers, right? As long as they're kind of in the loop. And they need to have the appropriate training to navigate the complexities that arise. So it is all interconnected, and it is complex, and I don't want to, I want to acknowledge that. I don't want to gloss over that. Okay. Other ways to there are other ways to incorporate pronouns into daily life and normalize that everyone has a pronoun, which is really what we're doing when we're kind of asking pronouns and making that a habit. And remember, we all have pronouns we use for ourselves, right? This isn't just a trans thing. So one way is to put pronouns in your professional email signature, like Jane Doe here from Awesome Organization. So She has her name, her title, the organization she works at, the city, and then a line that says pronouns, she, her, hers. The structure of the business cards at Western University is similar. Name, title, department, and pronouns all in the center of the card. Sometimes in other cases, the pronouns might go right under the names or on a separate line in parentheses. I've also seen folks hyperlink the word pronoun to an article about pronouns and why they matter, kind of educating folks in the process and maximizing the impact of this choice to use pronouns. Other ways to share pronouns. You can also ask attendees in an event to share their pronouns on their name tags. You can buy name tags with the pronoun spot built right in. You can also have pins available at the registration table, like you see off to the side. These are great ways to validate and encourage the awareness of pronouns, and it shortcuts the discussion that people may need to have within their introductions to each other, right? They don't need to say, what are your pronouns? Pronouns are easily seen on the name tag, and people can get it right much more easily. And lastly, a common protocol during many meetings and smaller events is to have folks go around and share their name and pronouns during introductions. While this can be beneficial for many, it has been met more recently with some discomfort and criticism that it might be forcing people, specifically trans people, to come out in settings where they don't feel comfortable. In general, it's a great practice to ask people to share their name and pronoun before they speak in meetings, but it's equally important to remind people that it's optional, not mandatory. It can also be good practice to encourage folks to share the name and pronouns they would like others to use in that setting, rather than kind of their global name and pronoun. That means someone doesn't need to come out with the pronoun they might use at home, but they can share the ones they are comfortable with others using in that time and space. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it answered some of your questions about kind of the nitty-gritty of how to talk to people about pronouns, how to ask pronouns. This is part 3 of a 6-part series on kind of those real nitty-gritty questions about pronouns. We'll have links to more resources below. We also have a lot of resources about supporting trans survivors of trauma at our website, forgeforward.org. If you have questions or want more dialogue, please contact us at the email address on the screen and in the description below, askforge@forge-forward.org. Thank you so much.